Hello, everyone. Was I muted the whole time? Can you guys hear me? Hello? Ah, 1 second. Okay, everyone can hear me now? Okay, I've just been talking to myself again for 5 minutes. That's I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. I've been talking to myself for 5 minutes. Oh my god. Hello. Welcome. Um I met a lot of people at Rapid, so please drop an indicator of who you guys are. Hello. Hello, all you awesome people. It was only 4 minutes. That's why it's called Tiffany's Amateur Printing Hour, because I am an amateur both at printing and streaming. So welcome. I don't know if this is a good indicator, but welcome to the stream. If I met you during Rapid, I'm sure it was a great time. You saw me probably struggle through the 6 hours that I had to continuously stream. So welcome in, welcome in everyone. I'll give it 2 more minutes and I'll start the stream. But as always, thank you. Oh, you interviewed and you said you didn't think I was new to printing. If I said that, then I'm probably more of a newbie than you are. Hasn't the stream started already? The stream has started. Hello, hello. Andy here, amateur radio call sign, no YouTube channel. Okay, self promo. We love that. We love that. I met you at Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival. You met me at my worst. I was extremely sick during that convention, but thank you for stopping by. I hope the Polymaker team had a really good impression on everyone. That is throwing. It's okay. It's okay, chat. I'm new to streaming and I'm new to 3D printing. That's why it's called Amateur Printing Hour. I'll take all the criticism. Well, I was talking to myself for 4 minutes, but what I said earlier is that thank you everyone for showing up again at a random 4 p.m. on a Wednesday. I don't know what you guys are doing during a workday to watch my stream, but whatever it is, I really appreciate it, as always. It's Maker Hour and Streaming Hour, because I literally have started streaming this year. 10 p.m. Where are you guys? Where are you guys located? This is Central Time right now, so I'm still on the clock. I'm still on the job. UK, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. 3 p.m. Once again. What are you doing at 3 p.m. to watch my stream, Korea Rice Box? Oh, we got some people all over the country and the globe. Thank you for showing up. 2 p.m. What are you guys doing to watch the stream? I mean, not that I'm hating on it. Thank you guys for watching my stream. Joel told me to come. Of course, of course. Freaking Joel. I learned from the best. Retired. We love that. We love that. All right, well, we're about 5 minutes into the stream. So like the title suggests, this is Tiffany's Amateur Printing Hour. So sometimes I start the stream with showing you guys some recent prints that I've made. I'll start with kunais today. So we actually had some really fun content that we filmed in the office today. And so kunais were printed to film that in the process. I actually had my first bout of issues with my printer last night when I was trying to print these at like 1 a.m. So I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep because I had to try to fix my nozzle in my printer. So I'll tell you guys what happened. I don't know what the heck is going on. I guess it's been about 5 to 6 months since I actually started printing. My nozzle, I guess, was clogged. I'm not sure. I had to watch a TikTok on how to do it. But the tube, the filament got cut in the tube, so it kind of snapped and broke apart in the tube. So it was like kind of a bitch for me to have to pry it open. And I have an A1 Mini for those who don't know, so it's a super beginner-friendly printer. I have an A1 Mini, and I had to pry open my tubes to get the printer out. I've only been printing for 5 to 6 months, so I'm still very new, but I'm not an avid printer. But yeah, I think my nozzle was clogged, I'm not sure what it was, so I had to take the rubber part out of the, I guess it's a rubber cover for the nozzle. I had to take that out just to see what was going on because I couldn't extrude any of the old filament through the nozzle. And so on top of that, my filament broke within the tube also. So it was really hard for me to figure out how to push the remaining filament in there out so I could at least waste all that filament to print something else because I could not get my hands in there to get the broken filament out. And so that took me about an hour at like 1 a.m. in the morning to try to figure all that out. I really thought about it. I was like, no, maybe I should just throw this printer away and buy something new. Your layer lines must be very straight if you're printing that slowly. I wouldn't say straight. I don't know about that. I do have a lot of texture, if you guys could see here. But once again, I'm a push and print type of gal. Of course, of course. But what I found out what I had to do is that I had to take the, is it called like a PVC? What is it? Like the tube? I forgot the name of the tube. But you take the tube out, and I had to press the black circles down to take it out. So that was one solution to take the broken filament out. So that was one issue that I cleared out, was taking the filament out of the tube. But what was really sad is that every time I tried pushing new filament in, it kept breaking on me. So I really need you guys to let me know, why did my filament keep breaking inside of the tube? I need to know. Like even me, I don't know why the filament was wet. To be fair, I have been using filament that have been taken from the warehouse. I don't have a poly dryer, or I don't have a filament dryer. I don't dry it. And Korean rice box, it probably is old filament. Yeah, for sure, old filament. Like, I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but there's so much texture on this. I don't know how old this filament was. It was on its last leg, meaning that there wasn't that much filament left on the spool, so I just took it. But this color, I had beige Polyterra that was in there that broke first because I had used that a ton for a couple of prints that I've done. And then after that, I tried to push this Polyterra in. I think it's a dual color one. I wasn't sure if because I was trying to push a new type of filament in, that it wasn't going through the nozzle. But I'll tell you guys, getting that old beige filament out of the nozzle was really a bitch. So I remembered I still kept some of the Bamboo Labs kit that it was given to me. And I don't know if this was the right tool. I don't know if this was the right tool to push the filament through, but I ended up finding a tutorial on how to open up the cage and then open up the top part where what was the tube called? What was the tube called? Someone called the PTF, the tube, the PTF tube. I figured out how to open the little part where the PTF tube was completely, and I could now see inside. And I had this really thin metal thing. I think it was literally this, chat. It was literally this, but extremely thin. And I literally shoved it in to extrude all of my old filament out, and that finally did the trick. Now I don't know if that was it. Thank you, Ruffletos and Allen Wrench. I don't know if that was the right thing to do for, like, I don't know if that was the correct tool even for me to push in to extrude all of that. So I had a nozzle needle, but it was too thin, so I don't know if that was supposed to work. And I also did end up stabbing myself with the nozzle needle because I didn't realize what the heck it was. So the highs and lows of 3D printing when your push and print doesn't do it for you anymore. So I ended up pushing this through and extruded all my old filament, and I think that did the trick. So I made another mistake because my printer was on and the nozzle was very much heated all the way to the max. And so what I did was that while the nozzle was still hot, I did turn off the printer, that I did. I touched the rubber cover of the nozzle while it was still hot, and it burned my fingers, but I still wanted it off. So I pried it off even though it was hot, and it stayed hot for like 10 minutes. But I think that's like things that makers do, right? Like you burn the tip of your fingers. Yeah, it was probably definitely wet. Um, and to answer this question, it was definitely from the supports. All this texture here is definitely from the supports. The rest of the print is fairly smooth. And mind you, these are the completed ones. I will show you guys in this bag my failure that I wasted 40 minutes on. Hold on, there was a comment earlier. I don't know if I could find it. Someone asked me what my favorite filament was, just to go off topic a little bit. I've only printed with PLA so far, but my favorite filament color within Polymaker, because I've only really used Polymaker, as you should if I work here. I think my favorite color is Sakura Pink, Panchroma Sakura Pink. That's my favorite because that is my first filament that I was gifted. But thank you. It did print well. It did print well. I really had to hustle to print this because we needed this for content filming today. Long rod that came with the printer after taking nozzle off heat, the print head, and push rod through. So what does the rod look like? Because again, the needle felt too thin, and the Allen wrench, sorry, felt like the appropriate tool because it was thinner than this, and it fit perfectly through that hole. So I don't know. Oh, here it is. What's your favorite filament? I don't like them personally. Hello. Welcome. If it works, it's not stupid, as proper printing would say. That's true. So what are your guys' thoughts and opinions on not following the rules in terms of fixing your printer? Do you guys do that? Is that frowned upon? And how many of you guys have broken your printer that way? Because I feel like I'm one mistake from breaking my printer. I actually had to watch a tutorial on how to pry open the little nozzle chamber, because how I was doing it is I was literally like hacking it with a tweezer to open, and then I saw that it was super simple because there's this little divot where you just have to push it a little bit, push it up, and it pops open. All right, here's a comment. You shouldn't push it through the gears, but I will send you the right tool on Discord. Please do. Please do. But I don't know. My little Allen wrench was really working for me. Number one tip, don't use cheaper old filament if you don't want headaches. I'm not going to lie to you, Chad. All of the filament I've been using, I feel bad using new filament because I just feel bad going through a whole new spool. So I always use something that is super used down. I always make sure that it's like at 400 grams, or sometimes like 300 grams, just because I'm only sampling them. If I were to commit to a whole spool of filament, a new spool of filament, it would probably be like a solid color. But if I'm trying like funky finishes or, cool colors like this, I always try to get the smallest amount of filament. That's a tool you can print to make it off while it's warm. Thank you for sending it to me on Discord. I will make sure to look at it later. Hi, can you rate my U-Track? What the heck? Welcome to the club of failed prints. So I've actually had a lot of failed prints. Yeah, I don't know. Sakura pink is a really nice color. Long rod with circle at the end. I thought the only rule was don't smash it with a hammer if you don't need it. I have another confession, chat. I actually don't ever clean my bed plate. I probably should, or my build plate, but I don't know. I feel like if I clean it, it might do something bad to it. Follow the rules first, improvise second. So see, Tony, right? My thing is, my philosophy is I always try to go off the rails first, and if my own solutions don't work, that's when I decide to follow the rules. It's a really bad habit of mine, but this time I maybe spent like 20 minutes of following my own rules before I actually went on TikTok and saw some tutorials, which is probably bad because I have a Polymaker wiki. But again, it was 1 a.m. and I didn't feel like reading, so sorry, Polymaker wiki. You can definitely decommission your printer for a while if you experiment and break apart and you don't have spares for. Well, I definitely don't want to break my printer anytime soon, but I feel like the path I'm going to, I might. If you use old filament, dry it, but always do a flex test. If it still snaps after you dry it, don't use it. Okay, so my question is, how far do I have to snap it? Like, are we talking about like, well, I guess if I snap it like this, chat, does this mean that this is old filament, or is that just the way that filament breaks? Please let me know. Leaving a filament, filaments do expire. What the heck? Well, I guess that makes sense if you don't dry them and store them properly. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I store them in a drawer. It's cold. It's in a dry place. Leaving filament for a long time into the printer's PTFE tube causes it to become brittle. Unloading filament from AMS light when not in use would be my suggestion. Okay, that's probably a really good idea. I'm just a really lazy person, so I probably will have to start doing this. I have a really bad habit of just leaving my filament in there because the whole loading process takes extra time into the printing time. So in terms of that, I'm a little lazy. Hello, welcome to the stream. I keep a box next to the printer filled with failed prints and supports. I always don't know what to do with my support. So this is another thing with 3D printing. I love the fact that you can just make whatever you want. And I feel like I don't have to go to the store that often anymore. But I feel extremely guilty with all the waste that comes along with it, especially if I have to have a lot of trees and supports. It makes me feel guilty. So if you have a good way to recycle them, please let me know. Oh, I do clean my bed, but not my build plate. Welcome, welcome. I cleaned my build plate for the first time today. I've had a printer for 2+ years. Okay, tell me what the texture is like. Is it gnarly? Does it still adhere? And also, how often am I supposed to clean my build plate? That's another question I want to know. On the topic of build plates, when I was at Rocky Mountain Rep Festival, I thought this was super cool. It kind of blew my mind. I don't have any prints that have it, but I didn't know that you could actually buy finishes or like cool finishes for your bed plate. Because I saw a bunch of cool prints with bottoms that had like holographic finishes, and I thought that was super cool. As an engineer, reading is hard. Reading is hard at 1 a.m. Okay, when I'm trying to fix my printer and like panic print these for a prop today, I did not want to read. So it depends on type of filament. So I'm purely using PLA. I haven't ventured outside of PLA. But the filament I just snapped in half is Polylite PLA Pro. So I'm not sure if this is old or if it was supposed to snap in half like that. Please let me know. Like the fiberglass and carbon fiber ones are more brittle, right? You will get a second printer once addiction fully kicks in. So once I get a second printer, I don't know. Please recommend me a printer, but I'm kind of loyal to Bamboo Labs just because of how easy the use is, especially for a beginner like myself. But if I were to get another printer, it would definitely be with an AMS this time. If it snaps like spaghetti, you can try drying it, but it might be past. So this did not snap like spaghetti. It snaps like, I don't know how you would describe it. Definitely not spaghetti. It felt really smooth, like candy. Like I snapped a Twizzler in half. I bet you guys as an office could buy the thing that recycles filament into usable filament. True, true. Does that produce a lot of fumes? Is another question. I wish I could afford the machine to recycle into new filament. Is it expensive, chat? Using questionable filament is fine if you have time to deal with it, but remember, time is money. Just using a new roll when you have a deadline is a wiser thing to do. Now that's true, but again, I get my filament for free. And I also wanted to try a new color. This was a dual color that I stole last night or yesterday from the office. So it wasn't, I wasn't going into it thinking that I would get new filament, like new filament, because this was, it probably had like 400 grams left on the spool. If you're having bed adhesion issues, clean your plate or try a glue stick. I actually don't have bed adhesion issues. If anything, I think it sticks on a little too well. So I'm an impatient person. I'm not sure if you guys have caught on at this point. I'm an impatient person. So when the print is finished, my immediate thought is to take it right off the bed. And I have broken quite a bit of prints doing that because it's still hot and malleable during that time. But yeah, I heard some crazy stuff of what people use as bed adhesion. Someone told me they've used hairspray. I've heard hair wax, which was a funny one. If you're switching material, clean your build plate. Well, that's a good thing because I haven't switched materials just yet. So there are holographic Plates, plenty. Can someone explain to me how holographic plates work? I haven't had the time to actually look into the science behind it. So Korea rice blocks, please let me know how to properly clean a build plate. True story, we all start with one and then end up with at least 3. I haven't reached that level yet. It's normal for PLA to snap at a sharp angle like you did. Okay, that's good to know. So would we call this spool a filament fresh, or would we call it old if it snaps like that? Fresh? I like Microba S1. It's cheaper than bamboo, and reviews I've heard say it's comparable, if not better than bamboo. So I think the one thing is that once, well, I think this is what it is with technology for me. Once I get into a brand, I'm kind of loyal to that brand if it's my first time using that brand. So example, I've had Apple products all my life, and I can't bear to switch to a Samsung just because, you know, it imprinted on me. Apple has imprinted on me, just like Bamboo Labs. I really like the ease of function and ease of use. So I don't know if I would ever switch to a different printer, which is probably bad to say. I don't know. Bamboo is putting out update that makes them so you can only use their software. I did see that. I did get a software update last night. Hello, Media Mike. How it snaps, it means it has too much moisture. PLA will bend and not span if it's good. Okay, it's good to know. Yeah, I think a lot of my filament, again, most of it is quite old, so pretty sure they have a lot of moisture on it. But is that still good to print with? We need to get you some fun build plates in Nano. Please, someone tell me how these fun build plates work. So again, I've seen a lot of holographic ones, and Peslas can attest to this. She printed a bunch of cool stuff that I saw at Rocky Mountain Rough Rep Festival. But do I have to change the build plate after the fun build plates every time I use it, or how does the science work? Please let me know. The bed adhesion issues comment was in response to when do you clean your build plate? Oh, okay. Sorry, there are a lot of comments. Take the build plate off and let it cool. No hairspray ever. I don't know, Peslas. I've heard tons of people say that they use hairspray. They have slight difference in textures that cause the light to reflect at specific angles. Wash with Dawn and then alcohol wipe. So alcohol wipes for sure. Okay. I've used scented hand soaps. Someone tell me if that's bad. They're not actually holographic. It's a micro texture that gives the illusion of holography. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know why I was assuming that it was kind of like continuous layers of holographic material, and it dwindles during time of use. But good to know. Freshish. Good enough, but worth drying it. They are images etched into the bed, and based on your bed squish, it transfers onto the back of the model. I probably should get a poly dryer, Peslas, but I just don't have space in my place to put a poly dryer on top of all the filament. Hello, welcome to the stream. No, you can change it as you want to use it. Okay, to clean the build plate, Dawn power wash in a lint-free cloth. Okay, so is this the debate here? And so no alcohol wipes? It's bad if you don't want your print to smell like the soap. I don't think I mind if the print smells like soap. Hairspray and scented soaps have additives and moisture that can ruin the bed. Okay, good to know. So stop using scented hand soaps. Gotcha. Hand soaps have moistures in them. That's true because they have oils. Just use Dawn soap to clean the plate. Okay. Good afternoon. Each type of build plate have different recommending cleaning procedures. Some recommend you can use isopropyl alcohol. Some build plates you cannot use alcohol, like bamboo super talc build plates should not be cleaned with alcohol. So I think mine is a bamboo textured build plate. So is that a yes or no to alcohol wipes? I've also heard Windex. Windex is a crazy one. So I don't know. Does Windex work for build plates? What if my Dawn dish soap is scented? That's a really good question. I was thinking about that. Okay, so I have some mixed reviews here, but I guess it really depends on what type of build plate that you have. So that's a new thing to learn. I didn't know that per different type of build plate, you have different methods to cleaning them. So chat, I have a textured build plate from Bamboo Labs. What's the best suggestion for me, best suggestion for how to clean them? I love Dawn Power Wash Spray to wash plates. Okay. But please drop your suggestions. I have a bamboo textured build plate. I've been getting some conflicting answers, so one solid answer. What's the best way to clean that one? Because I've only cleaned it once, just because I saw like a little white cast from my prints on it. Okay, a basic dish soap is fine for most of the modern build plates are PEI, so Dawn has to be good for them. So question, if the Dawn is scented, does that affect it? Dawn dish soap and a plastic bristle brush. A plastic bristle brush. Alcohol for touch-ups and dish soap is for a full clean. Okay. And chat, do you think am I supposed to clean my build plate once every month just for good practice, or just whenever I feel like the bed adhesion has issues? When you use alcohol in your build plate, do you have to stain out the ice cubes? Ooh. Okay, Dawn said doesn't matter. Good to know. I do have down dish soap. When bed adhesion is bad, wash. Noted. Thank you everyone for your input. Next, I'm going to show you guys my printed fail. So you've seen the success of 2 kunais here. They're really fun. But let me show you how I wasted 40 minutes of my time printing this out. And I need someone to explain to me how this happened. I have 6 plates and washed them all at once. Chat, let me know. Is this normal? Is this normal? I actually don't print that often, so I would say maybe 2 times a week. Normal. All right, let me show you guys. So here is the the failed kunai. As you can see, there's a lot of stringing issues here. So once again, let me know, is stringing part of a moisture issue because I'm using old filament? Lots of stringing. The texture is so weird. There's a lot of stringing here too. And this part was actually printed upwards like this, but it kind of flung off of my build plate during print. So can someone please explain that to me? I also saved all of the spaghettis here. What causes all this stringing? So I've seen stringing on my coworkers' prints before, but how did this happen on mine? Because it's so small. It is PLA, to answer your question. Stringing and print errors can happen with wet filament. Okay, so this probably happened. More stringiness, more stringy, more spaghetti. So this happens with wet filament, which means that my filament is probably old and has too much moisture. I have not turned off my printer since I got it 2 months ago. And the second, okay, is this healthy, or is this good practice? Like if I don't turn off this is the one thing, I'm just afraid of electrical fires, which is why I try my best to not leave my printer unattended, but I know a lot of people don't. If you use nano every 10 prints or so and IPA mist before every print, you will never need to wash a build plate, okay? Wet filament has water, which steams up in the nozzle and ends up causing stringing and extra filament to flood out. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay, now I know what that means. I've always heard of stringing, and I think I've always been too busy to actually look into the science behind what goes wrong with the prints until it actually happens to me. So, but okay, I have a question then. Why the heck did this fling off of the build plate during the print? That's when I realized that my print was effed up, because this part did not finish printing. So please, someone let me know that. LOL, I'll leave it on. It goes on standby after a while. Are you guys not afraid of electrical fires, or printers just have that technology to prevent that? Yes, Pezliz. Pezliz is over here advertising the Polymaker wiki better than I am, because it was 1 a.m. and I just didn't have the bandwidth to read all of that, Pezliz. I know it's a really good wiki. Regular PLA should not string much. Wood PLA string some, and PETG can string a little more. PETG requires more care in drying to prevent filament condition from going bad. So I haven't printed with PETG yet, but I think another question is, if my filament is wet, is there a way to fix it if it's already wet by drying it? Is there a way to salvage old filament? No, is the audio too low? Please let me know. The print head might have hit the print. I think that might be it then, because this literally flung off and I heard it clunk on the ground. Oh, hello everyone. Yes, machines are safe. Good to know. For those joining the chat, I'm showing everyone the terrible print mishap that happened. Lots of stringing issues, lots of things flinged off of my printer during print. And good to know that it was probably because it hit the nozzle. Yes and no, drying might save it, or it just proves the filament is expired. Another question for you guys. I do realize I work for a filament company, but there's still a lot that I have to learn. 3D printing is just, it's a science for sure. But how long does it take for filament to start expiring? What's the shelf life of filament? And good to know that the audio is good, chat. Oh, Petchi needs one of those. Can I print Petchi from on a A1 Mini? Please let me know. So to give an example, Raffle Toast, if it's stored in a filament room like this, I will say this room is a little humid just because we have 3 or 4 printers going at the same time, so it's a little hot in here. So let me know. You can revive filament by drying it in a filament dryer or a very low temp oven. So we do have an oven here, but when we say low temp, what is the temperature in Fahrenheit that I should be drying it at? And do I need a designated oven, or if I cook in it, will that poison me? Some will, some I won't. Well, storage? Shelf life depends on the humidity level of your environment. So we live in Houston, so it's extremely humid here. And again, the filament that I've been getting is from our filament room at the Polymaker Houston office. And again, it's quite warm in here just because we have 3 or 4 filament printers going at the same time. You can dry out filament. I'm old school and use a food dehydrator to dry filament and then store in a dry box with desiccant. That looks like StreamYard you're using for stream. I'm like new on screen comments feature. Yes, it is StreamYard. I have been using StreamYard. Still very new to it. Humidity and temp in general speed up chemical reactions. Move to Arizona and you won't have to worry about humidity. I won't have to worry about humidity, but I will sure worry about the dryness and the heat. Your infill type can increase the likelihood of your print failing. Never use grid infill even though it's the bamboo default. It causes the nozzle to cross the print more and the nozzle tip can bang into your print and knock it off the plate. I do use the bamboo default. Each filament has different temps to dry them and how long. Google does have good answers, but again, Polymaker does have a good wiki, so I think it's time for me to start watching it, reading it, sorry. What's funny is that when I started at Polymaker in December, I actually had to take a test that our Polymaker Sean, drafted up. It was like the super early prototype of the Polymaker wiki. And so I was like studying for a test, and I think I got like an 80%. I think I might have to retake that test there. Petchi needs 250, 260 C nozzle temp or so. I believe most printers will print Petchi. What's the humidity in that filament storage space? I actually don't know the humidity. I don't know if we have a tracker for that. But do know, it's quite warm in this room. Petchi, I would recommend doing the drying 3 times the recommended temp type. Decadents are beads that absorb moisture. I see. Ah, I know what you mean then. It's like those little packages that say do not eat when you get them, right? I am Dutch. I don't dry much and it's wet here, but I think if you dry more, it will store it. And again, it might degrade different. So when I store the filament in my place, generally I keep it pretty cold and dry. So I don't think it's a me issue. I think it's just because I'm using old filament. It's about as bad as cooking polymer clay in the oven. No, not recommend, only in a pinch. When I store filament, I put the spool in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag with the silica packets, the desiccants, and it removes the humidity. And it sucks the air out of the Ziploc bag myself before I put it back in the box, and box it came in to keep it less exposed to the sun. Okay, that is actually really doable for me. I think I do have a couple of those packets just from old packaging and stuff. So that's actually a really fun idea. Also, on the topic of Ziploc bags, we actually do have resealable bags. So I probably should steal a couple from the office to put all my filament in instead of just raw dogging it in my drawer. Reality just announced Space P14X4 have able to dry 4 filaments. Oh, a hydrometer. The biggest enemy to PLA is UV/sunlight. Okay, that's another guilty thing that I will say. Sometimes when I steal like a pack of filament from the office, ignore this HTPLA sticky note. Again, we're creating content in the office earlier, and if you stay tuned for a bit, I'll show you what we're making. So whenever I steal filament from the office, I have a terrible habit of forgetting it in my car. And once again, the humidity and the heat in Texas is quite bad. So maybe I'm the one who's fudging up all of the filament also. Aside from the fact that I use a little pump, I store filament in the same way. Big time enemy. Oops. I think you can shove the desiccant bags in the oven for a bit to dry them out if they get too old. Okay. Vacuum seal it again. Might be the best. So we're talking about vacuum sealing, but the reason I printed these kunais is because we just filmed some content of us stabbing all of our filament bags. So I think I'm pretty low on bags right now. The bigger enemy to PLA is my extruder hot end. Please explain, Stay Creepin'. Why? Why is that your biggest enemy for PLA? I'm really having fun with these kunais. I really want to print more just to display or have them around the office. Because he's running through and printing so much PLA. Oh my gosh. So are you guys having like do your nozzles like just clog up? And do they just start bubbling if that's the case? And what's the proper way to clean a nozzle? How do you know when a nozzle is too far off from saving also? Because I've seen a lot of that on our Twitter and a lot of makers in the community showing me how they've ruined their nozzles. I live in Colorado and the humidity is low here, but I want to say PLA is 2 or 3 months but open. But it does matter brand to brand. If it matters brand to brand, please let me know what you guys think about thoughts and opinions about the Polymaker then. I mean, all Polymaker filament. This has been very helpful. This is the point of Tiffany's Amateur Maker Hour. I feel like I've learned a lot just by showing you guys my mistakes. These trees came off, I believe, this. Lots of stringing here also. OG Plastic Spool Polymaker. I have open PLA that is 4 years old. Was it still fresh, Teslas? Is it still good? I just got some aftermarket hardened steel nozzles and in different sizes. Really curious to try printing in like 0.6mm nozzles to print some bigger things. Hello, Maker. Hello, Tech Jeeper. I have some PLA that's 4 years old, out in the open, prints fine still. I'm in southern. Oh, so you're in Georgia, so it's very humid. I don't know. Maybe the filament gods have blessed you with that, Stephen Poole. You can get little humidity indicator strips to put in bag with your filament, so you know when you'll probably need to dry it. It's probably better than me playing filament roulette and just putting whatever filament in my printer. Also, what's a good price for a nozzle, and what's an expensive price for a nozzle? Because as we're on the topic, a sorcerer indeed. Because how is it still that good? That's an interesting question. How often do you change the nozzle? How many rolls before you get clogs? And does filament quality matter? A pull would be useful. Taking that image right now and possibly using that as a pull in the future. How many licks does it take to get to the end of the nozzle? Couple dollars on Amazon through like 100 for a Diamondback. I actually heard, I've been seeing the name Diamondback a lot. Is that like an expensive nozzle, and is it actually a diamond nozzle? And on the topic of nozzles also, if I wanted to print something, I'll show you guys another failed print. So this is actually my first ever print outside of a Benchy, outside of what the presets that Bamboo Lab gives you. So this is a Wizard Kirby. I don't know if I've actually showed this on stream before. I feel like I might, but I believe I used the filament pack that Bamboo offers in their printers when you first get them. So this should be fresh filament. But I have some really weird texture underneath, and I don't know if it's stringy or not. Is this considered stringy? I'm not sure, but I'm sure you can see it well against my black hair. But We have a lot of texture here. It doesn't print smooth like it does on this side, which I'm really confused about. So what is it a nozzle issue? Do I need to get a new or a smaller or a bigger nozzle for this? Yes and yes. It is cute, but the face definition doesn't come through. You can barely see it if you show it at an angle with the light, but the facial features are supposed to be a little bit more defined. So I don't know. Bamboo does just as good as Revo S. I like printing the Kirby with a giant knife. That is also my favorite. I do have a decal of that on my car. Hot ends all depends on what you print. Yes, a polycrystal diamond, it has high heat transfer and can't be scratched by anything sort of another diamond. Okay, that makes sense. Makes sense why it's $100 too. A new pack of filament does not mean fresh filament. Ooh. But if it's stored properly, then does it still work the same? Is it still considered fresh if it's stored properly? With that kind gentleman who mentioned earlier, and Pezliz mentioned that they have open 4-year-old filament and it works just perfectly. Make sure you buy the correct nozzles because you can wreck the hot end with the wrong one. Okay, so I actually did not put supports on this, or I think I printed 3 prototypes of this, and the third one I did have supports on, and it still printed pretty wonky. So I don't know, because when I first got into 3D printing, I was really excited with the thought of printing mini figurines. My partner at the time really loved playing Warhammer, and I really was excited to print small figurines. But after printing this little guy, I think all my dreams went down the drain because it did not look good. And I wasn't sure resin printing was better for figurines. But I also have seen some pretty decent small prints. I think his name is Chris Perillo. We showcased a lot of his Star Wars figurines at Rocky Mountain Rep Festival, and they were amazing, and they were about this size as well. So what's the preferred nozzle millimeter for that? Please let me know. There's no such thing as fresh. Even vacuum sealed, it is not fresh and could have sat in the warehouse for years. Oh, so we have talked about filament having a shelf life. So someone explained to me, if the filament is still vacuum sealed in a bag for 4 years, how does it print so well after opening it if technically filament has shelf life? Is it just the exposure that happens afterwards, or after you open it, or you need to adjust the settings in your slicer? Your layer height will greatly affect the print quality. So this wasn't printed using MakerWorld. I think I used Thangs for this. So I did try to adjust the layer height, but I think I was still such a noob at the time that I really didn't understand what I was doing. If you were to ask me what I adjusted the layer height to, I really couldn't tell you. I adjusted it to something. If you're printing glow in the dark or glittery filament, you'll need a nozzle harder than a standard brass. Okay, so that's another question. So we have our Panchroma Starlight series, and I believe that is like a glittery type of filament. So would I have to change out my nozzle for that if I wanted to print it on my A1 Mini? See, I wish I could tell you the layer height. I changed it to so many numbers just to test it out, and I did not. Obviously, I failed there. It can still pick up moisture from the factory before sealing. Pet G, you should just dry it if you have a dryer. I think all roads lead to a poly dryer. Resin printing is generally better for minis. That is true, but I also don't want the toxins. There are YouTube videos for settings for supports. Oh, so when I printed this, I actually did watch a couple of YouTube videos. And I tried a couple of different layer heights, but still, I think I was still too new that I got impatient. And when you're trying to figure out something, I do tend to skip through. But I printed some excellent Pokemon stuff with my 0.4 millimeter nozzle on my S1 with a 0.08 millimeter layer height. What's a good layer height for a print like this now that we're here? Now that I can tell you that I do not remember. Pezliz says Chris uses a 0.4 nozzle. Okay. So Pezliz, if I wanted to print mini figurines, for example, like just Warhammer figurines, I would use a 0.4 nozzle. I hear 0.2 millimeter nozzle versus the common 0.4 millimeter is better for those small models with lots of details, but I've not used them. So I think this is the debate here. Should I use 0.4 or 0.2 if I want to do something this small? Printing miniature with a smaller nozzle like 2 millimeter nozzle or even 0.1 millimeter. Ooh. Check the network and see what they say about shelf life, and they will know the best and let us know. I believe the A1 Mini is a hardened. I've seen Polymaker filaments say when you need better than a brass nozzle. So a hardened steel nozzle at Pezliz. Are you saying that's good for a glittery filament? A1 Mini is stainless steel. Recommended to get the hardened steel, but depends on the filament you might use. Even plastic bags are a little permeable, sorry. So I fancier filament comes in a foil bag. Tony, right? Are you saying that Polymaker isn't fancy? To answer this question, yes, I would love to print in higher detail. Well, all plastics are basically made from organic atoms. Sealed or not, it has a shelf life. How long is the question? Probably not in most of our lifetimes. Yes, for matte, luminous glitters and hardened steel is recommended. Okay, that's good to know. What about dual, or how about gradients? Because I kind of understand the science behind different type of filament finishes. And I've seen macro pictures and images of, different finishes. So for dual colored filament, like gradients and stuff like that, does the nozzle matter? We do have some, but not our PLA. Do not get smaller with glitter or wood filaments. The smaller hole will cause more clogs. That makes sense because the glitter chunks, I assume, are big. If you want to print with glitter or wood filaments, okay, so that makes a lot of sense. If I want to print with any glitter or fun finishes, definitely go with a larger nozzle. Polymaker glitters 0.4 is fine. So I feel like 0.4 is the very minimum I can go with if I want to go with a glitter finish, right, chat? Look at the bamboo wiki under nozzle and hot end section. They have examples of what to use it for. Yes and no. Nozzles can give you a different effect that can help highlight the filament. Huh. For that little wizard, I would use tree supports, 0.2 NOS, and 0.06 layers. Definitely keeping that in mind. Yes, with like full metal nozzles, they clog less. Polymaker has a recommendation for every filament on their website. That we do. That we do. Once again, Pezla's coming through with the Polymaker promotion. Thank you, Pezla's. Well, thank you guys for judging all of my prints. Actually, this has been extremely informative, and I really appreciate all of the kind makers who have taken the time to explain a lot of things to me. I know some of this might be like basic questions, but I am still a newbie, so I really appreciate the time and effort that you guys have put into your replies. Thank you. All right, so we have 10 minutes left in the stream. I didn't expect to talk about 50 minutes about all of my failures. That's really nice to know. Maybe I should fail more and we can talk more about this. Lots of trials and errors. But for now, let me share with you guys some fun stuff. Basic or not, love to help someone to get excited about 3D printing. I actually really have recently started to love 3D printing a little bit more since my boss Nico had asked me to start this stream. It definitely pushed me to start 3D printing a lot more for sure. But before we get off, I want to show you some fun social media stuff that we're working on. So, like I mentioned, today we had a lot of fun stuff in the office in terms of content creation. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, live feedback. What did you guys think of our vlogs? And would you like to see more content like that in the future? It's out right now, and if you guys haven't watched it, please do. We have a content creator now, and he does an amazing job with the editing. Please let me know in the chat what you think of the vlogs. If you wanted failures, I could have posted failures from wet filament fresh from the bag. Damian, you brought me to Twitch. Welcome. Okay, so going to this, I'm going to give you guys some BTS of some fun stuff that we're filming today. And everyone's in the chat right now, so I'm going to tell you guys. So obviously, a lot of you know about our HTPLA launch. You guys really sold us out with that. We definitely underprepared for how much excitement and interest that you guys would take in HTPLA. So we need some fun content. that we're probably going to release about a week before the restock, but so we're trying to be a little bit more active on TikTok and post a little bit more humor on a lot of our social channels. This is a little sneak peek of the type of content that we're going to be pushing out. As I said before, we are self-aware that the HTPLA, we do understand about the stalking issues, so don't worry. But we're making a lot of content to be a little bit self-aware and make fun of ourselves. This is more so what the Polymaker team looks like during the summer vacation instead of going out and touching grass. We're in the filament room, and this is our vacation. Love seeing grown men in blown up pools. So funny enough, we had planned this today. We took like 30 minutes. I forgot to buy a pump. So it took us 30 minutes to blow up everything um, without a pump. So our lungs were out. Why is there a stream on Wednesday? Hi, hi Kenneth. If you don't know, I am Tiffany. I am the marketing channel manager at Polymaker. I was requested to start a live stream about a couple months ago, maybe 2 months ago, after Rapid in Detroit. And when my boss Miko asked me what day I wanted to stream, I chose Wednesday because it was the middle of the week. So welcome to the Wednesday stream. Thank you for showing up at random 4 p.m. Central Time. We do have a lot of fun here, that's for sure. Nope, not Tuesday. Lots of manual labor, that is for sure. Yeah, it took us 30 minutes to blow up this kiddie pool. Our initial thought was going to have it outside, but it's been raining so much in Houston, Texas, so inside the filament room it is. It was so funny watching. It was so funny watching these guys have a blast during regular work hours. So it was a great 10-minute break for them also. Yeah, again, we really appreciate all of the love for HTPLA. I promise the marketing will come back once we restock. Tesla's coming through with the scheduling. Should have had Pete blow it up. The hot air would have made it float. Got him. Got him. Pete was doing actual work, so I couldn't bother him too much outside of asking him to film. All right, so that's one BTS. Let's see what else I have to show you guys. Sorry, tech audio issues. As I was saying, we actually have a lot of fun content coming out. We actually filmed a lot of stuff from Rocky Mountain Rep Festival. I believe Murph is coming up also, so please expect some more content and blog styles from that from Joel, Pete, and Sean, I believe, who will be at Murph. So please, if you see them in person at Murph, join the blog. If you see Joel with the camera, join the blog. Hello. We can't wait to see the project, Korea Ricebox. But let me show you one more piece of content that I would love feedback from you guys on. All right, so we're coming out with another blog. I wouldn't say this is a blog. This is more of interview clips. We have a lot of cool people. I believe Kit Killen is here. This is, I forgot his name, but he's from Hedamame. She's from another company. We have Hat Club here, which is a club started by a bunch of teens, 4 teens, or youths. So my thing is, what would make you guys click this video? So I will actually share a clip with you guys. So the content of this video is us interviewing a bunch of makers in the field and the industry and a bunch of people in 3D printing and asking how they got into 3D printing, how they build businesses in 3D printing, and also just highlighting a bunch of youths because we saw so many youthful kids, 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds get into 3D printing super early. So it was really cool. If I can find my browser. All right, let me find the clip for you guys. All right, guys, so this is the video that we're coming out with soon, and you guys are getting the special heads up that I would never show.
How you guys doing? I'm Chase with Polymaker. We're here to interview Evan. Evan, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into 3D printing and how you got involved in the space.
So I'm Evan. I'm 15. Nice to meet y'all. But basically, since I was a little child, I've loved to play Legos and engineer stuff. And then I came across 3D printing, and it was like the greatest thing ever. Of course, it was a little expensive back then, but the ability to create anything out of plastic you could ever want for so cheap and have it within a couple of hours just seemed amazing to me. So of course, I would, want a 3D printer. I'd beg my parents to let me get one, and of course, they would say no. Then a couple years later, the Ender 3 releases, and I'm like, hey, this looks great. So I buy an Ender 3, and I've been modding.
So that's Evan. He's part of Hack Club. He's a 15-year-old, and we thought it was really cool that he got into 3D printing so early. Another clip we have is from 3DS HQ. So we highlighted her and her company just to see how you can create a business with 3D printing. This guy is from Avid.
To really build on the engineering consulting and actually provide real functional prototypes to the engineering customers that we were working with.
So you feel like a lot of people wanted to make these prints, but they may not have had the technical aptitude or the know-how.
So I'm really excited to release these types of videos because aside from our filament, a lot of people we actually interviewed also are either sponsored by Polymaker or currently do use Polymaker filament for their projects and for their business, which is super cool. But the thing about this is that I'm excited to release this because it is, a shout out to Avid. It's because I want to show the public, like, you can create business with 3D printing. In terms of how new 3D printing is, it still fairly is a new concept in tech and, in the field. And I feel like not a lot of people know that you can make passive income with just printing silly things like Flexi Dragons and selling them. Like, I'm sure if you go to your local mall, you'll see a lot of stands or kiosks with just Flexis everywhere. So we interviewed a lot of cool people. Of course, Hedamame. Hedamame is really cool.
That's awesome. And just in the future, do you plan to stick with headphones or do you plan to expand into other things?
Yeah, I've got a side of my brain that explores everything.
We got Hedamame. Really cool kids. These guys actually go around to middle schools and high schools and teach other kids how to 3D print also. So really cool. Another guy, his name is 3D Printing Sean, I believe. He is the one with the actual business. He was selling a lot of flexis and little figurines on his table there at Rocky Mountain Rep Festival. So another way to make really good passive income. Now, we have the Kit Kiln also. He's great. He creates amazing prints, STLs for people. If you don't have an AMS, he creates great prints for that as well. Now, what I want to ask you guys before I end this stream is what should I title the thumbnail? Please drop your suggestions in. We will be releasing this video this upcoming Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. I'm hoping to get an internship with the 3D printing architecture company. Well, I'm wishing all the best for you. I like that they were all persistent in each of their unique paths. Like the kid kept asking for a printer. That's so true. These kids were so fun. And I love that they were also trying to teach other kids their age to also learn how to 3D print. All right, so one title is Meeting Our Makers. Would that make you click this video, Raffle Toast? So now that you kind of got the gist of the content of this video, I would love to hear everyone's suggestions. I'm going to give it 2 more minutes before I end at 1:03 or 5:03 p.m. Would a tagline 3D printing beyond the bedroom make it a business? All right, Korea Rice Box, that's a really good one. But I also want to highlight that you can build a community with this. So why I interviewed these kids in general is not because they are there to make a business, but they were there to, help other people their age, other kids their age, get into 3D printing and, just have friends within the same hobby. I think that was the whole point of Hack Club. We interviewed them a little bit, and it was really cool to see a little tight-knit bond that these kids have. They ranged from like 15 to 21. How much clickbait is bad to the point where you feel like you wouldn't want to click it? Making it 3D, okay. So the title I have of this video is Meet the Makers, How 3D Printing Builds Business and Communities, Polymaker Rocky Mountain Rep Festival. So that's the title of the video, but I need a good thumbnail to get people clicking. Small child meets his maker is so off-putting though. 3D printing and beyond the community. Breaking into 3D printing with Polymaker. Printing possibilities, I like that one. Is it too clickbaity to say making money with 3D printing? Yeah, we got a lot of good suggestions so far. I'm gonna wait one more minute for you guys to give me one more good suggestions. Possibilities or perspectives? I like both actually. Just gonna write it down and play with it later. Clickbait title, Labubu 3D printing. There's not a Labubu in sight. The whole thumbnail is just a Labubu. I'm gonna get so many people to unfollow this channel. Young maker gets what's coming to him. I feel like that's terrible. That's a terrible one. 3D printing futures that make grass look lame. I like making it 3D. How about we actually make PBT filament? Printing the future. Turn P into Labubu. At Puzzles, maybe the next content that we film, we're gonna make Pete go into a full-size Labubu costume. Labubu is the way to go. I'm trying to get our content creator to print some Labubus to make some content with that. I feel like I've seen so many, Amolin, for example, they printed a Labubu to market and they didn't get sued. So not like Disney and Nintendo. I think Labubu is fair game. Printing possibilities, big and small. Okay. What does the big and small mean though? Is it like the kids are small? The adults are big? Business versus community? That's a good one. They're getting knocked off online as soon as they go up. That's true. On MakerWorld, I heard that you have to download the STL pretty fast before they get knocked off. But I feel like people advertising them, like companies, filament companies, advertising them on their socials. I haven't seen anyone get sued or anything like that. Potential, yes, this is for the thumbnail. I fear if I make it too clickbaity, I'm gonna get really bad flack for it. So I want it to be pretty practical. But business versus community ain't too bad. Well, I feel like that's my time, chat. I'm 5 minutes over what I'm supposed to go through. Thank you guys for giving me a lot of really good feedback from all of my printing fails. You guys have greatly helped me understand more about 3D printing, and that's the point of this stream. I did ask ChatGPT and they gave me some boo-boo answers. Business principles, that's a really good one. Screenshotting that. But again, thank you everyone for joining my stream. I hope this has been entertaining. I sure was entertained hearing all the great feedback and suggestions I got about my failures in printing and all the positive feedback I got about my good prints. Also, I also love showing you guys behind the scenes of what goes on to planning some of our content, what goes down at Polymaker, how we try to market our filament, market our business. You guys have been great. Polymaker isn't just about filament, we're about community, and I can't wait for you guys to see the videos that are going to come out. Please tune in, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye! Ooh.